Hello, hello, and welcome back. We are continuing our getting started lesson with the basics of what all the buttons do and where your hands go, and we are expanding that into how do we get angles on the Smashbox. And the way we do that is we're going to continue what we talked about with this button right here. And normally, the Smashbox, everything is smash turning, everything is fully tilted. But when we add this button, it doesn't actually engage anything on its own. Fox isn't moving. But when we add it with here, we're not actually dash dancing. We are now tilting. So this is what we call a modifier, meaning it modifies the strength of our analog stick going from full tilt to half tilt. But that also poses a problem because when everything is tilted, we still don't have all of the angles. Everything is still in cardinals, meaning up, down, left, right, and all the diagonals. So how do we get something like this angle? You know, how do we do that? How do we actually sweet spot the ledge from here? How do we do that? So I'm going to show you using the GameCube controller reference, and then I'm going to reel it back in with Melee and show you the examples. So here we are again. Here's what I'm talking about. Everything is fully tilted on the analog stick. But when we add this modifier button, everything is essentially half tilted. So there's way more than just that because this isn't that wacky angle I showed you. These are all now modifiers. Before, last time I showed you, they were D-pads, but there's a switch up here, and we switched it from the line position to the circle position, and all these turn into more modifiers. Only these ones are a little more complicated, but not that much. This is how we get access to all of the awesome tech. This is what we call the X modifier. So X, that means X is left and right, not up and down, just left and right. Over here is the Y-axis, which means up and down, not left and right. So we split them up. This only tilts left and right. This only tilts up and down. X-axis is left and right. Y-axis is up and down. So what happens when we slightly are tilted to the right, not full, only slightly tilted, but go all the way up? See that? We're slightly to the right, but 100% up. That gives us this crazy steep angle. And similarly, rather than being up and to the right at that 45 degrees, if we are using the Y modifier, we're only slightly tilted up, but all the way to the right, giving us that crazy recovery angle. So that's, in a nutshell, how the angles work visually. And I'll show you back in the game here how that applies. So, okay, so let's talk about the X modifier again. It affects left and right. See how slow we're walking? But it doesn't affect up and down. So just left and right. We're doing a very slow walk. It's so slow that it doesn't actually give us a side B. It still gives us a neutral B. So that's how on Smashbox we do things like turnaround laser, because it's still enough to turn us around in the air, but not enough to do a side B. So you get access to not only angles, but also techniques using the Smashbox. So I guess to elaborate on that angle more, if you know wave dash, see how steep that is? Similarly, if you want, instead of the shortest wave dash, the longest, this is still looks like you're dash dancing, but it's angled, so you have the furthest reaching wave dash. Now, beyond this, I've only showed you X1 and Y1. Now, to complete this lesson, I'm going to show you that there's more of this. There's X1, X2, meaning it's a different strength of the X modifier. So this is X1, that's that slow walk, and now we have a faster walks on X2. Similarly, Y1 is not enough to jump or duck, but it's enough to get tilt attacks. But Y2 is enough to jump and fast fall, but it's not enough to actually duck. However, it is far enough to give us a down B, which is awesome that you can shine without starting a crouch animation. Also, I'll just focus on Y2 so I don't overdo it. There's probably the most application out of Y2 because this is how we shield drop. It's the perfect angle to shield drop. It's also a great wave dash angle that is more forgiving for, let's say, platform landing. Because if we use the perfect wave dash using Y1, See how it's so steep that it's very less forgiving. So it's wiser a lot of the time to use Y2 for awesome angles, you know, for platform landing. So that in a nutshell is how we use all of these different tilts to give us these different angles and techniques. And we're going to expand more from there because there's nothing you can't do on the Smashbox. So join us next time. We're going to keep going more in depth.